He almost turned back at the restaurant door. Not because he was nervous about the blind date, but because his 4-year-old daughter tightened her grip on his finger and whispered, "Daddy, what if she doesn't like me?" What neither of them knew was that the woman waiting inside, the CEO, was about to face a choice that would shatter her carefully controlled world, and change 3 lives forever. Hook for Chapter 1. When the CEO saw a little girl walk into her blind date, her smile froze, because that child reminded her of someone she had spent years trying to forget. Ethan Miller had not planned his life this way. At 34, he was a single father, an exhausted project analyst working contract jobs, living paycheck to paycheck, raising his daughter Lily after her mother passed away from illness 2 years earlier. Dating had stopped being about romance and started being about logistics, babysitters, schedules, money he didn't have. So when his coworker insisted on setting him up on a blind date, Ethan hesitated. But then Lily looked up at him with hopeful eyes and asked if maybe this time things could be different. The babysitter canceled an hour before the date. Ethan stood in their small apartment, staring at his phone, considering texting an apology. But Lily was already dressed in her yellow cardigan, the one she called her brave sweater. She smiled as if this evening mattered more than he realized. And maybe it did, so he did the unthinkable, he took her with him. Across town, Claire Whitmore adjusted the sleeves of her tailored blazer as she sat alone at a quiet upscale restaurant. CEO of a fast-growing tech firm, Claire had everything: power, money, respect. Everything except warmth. She had agreed to the blind date out of politeness, already planning a polite exit if the man didn't fit her world. She valued efficiency, even in relationships. Then she looked up. A man stood at the entrance holding a little girl's hand. Her initial reaction was sharp disappointment. Then irritation. A child, on a date. She stood halfway, unsure whether to stay seated. But before she could decide, the little girl looked directly at her and smiled, soft, innocent, hopeful. Something inside Claire shifted. Ethan approached, clearly embarrassed, already apologizing before sitting down. He explained the situation honestly, without excuses. Claire listened in silence, her expression unreadable. Lily climbed into the chair, swinging her feet nervously. Dinner began awkwardly. Lily tried to be quiet, but curiosity won. She asked Claire questions: why she wore glasses, why she didn't smile much, whether she liked bedtime stories. Ethan expected Claire to be offended. Instead, Claire laughed. A real laugh, one she hadn't heard from herself in years. As the evening went on, Ethan spoke about Lily's bedtime routines, her fear of thunderstorms, how she still slept holding her mother's scarf. Claire listened more than she talked. And every word pierced her deeper than she expected. Because Lily reminded her of the daughter she had lost touch with years ago, the child she gave up custody of in the ruthless climb to success. When the check arrived, Claire paid without hesitation. Outside the restaurant, Lily hugged her legs unexpectedly and whispered, "I like you." Claire froze. That night, she sat alone in her luxury apartment, unable to sleep. She stared at the city lights and realized something terrifying. This blind date wasn't an accident. It was a mirror. Hook for Chapter 2. The next time the CEO saw the little girl, it wasn't at a restaurant, it was in a hospital hallway, and the truth she discovered would force her to choose between her empire and her heart. Weeks passed. Claire and Ethan kept meeting, sometimes with Lily, sometimes alone. The relationship grew slowly, carefully, honestly. For the first time in years, Claire found herself leaving work early. Ethan began believing again, not in fairy tales, but in possibility. Then everything fell apart. Lily collapsed at school. The diagnosis was devastating, an aggressive but treatable condition that required immediate care, long hospital stays, and more money than Ethan could ever afford. He sold his car. He took extra shifts. He smiled for Lily and cried alone in stairwells. Claire found out by accident. She rushed to the hospital and found Ethan asleep in a chair, Lily pale but smiling when she saw her. Claire held her hand, fighting tears. Later, she spoke to doctors, administrators, insurance representatives. And then she did something no one expected. She didn't just pay the bills. She restructured her entire company's healthcare initiative, quietly creating a fund for employees and families in crisis. She used her power not to dominate, but to protect. When Ethan protested, she stopped him gently. "I didn't lose my daughter once to ambition," she said softly. "I won't do it again." Months passed. Lily recovered. Strength returned. Laughter filled hospital rooms. One evening, in the same restaurant where it all began, Ethan knelt, not with a ring first, but with words. He thanked Claire for seeing them when the world didn't. Lily handed Claire a crayon drawing, 3 stick figures holding hands. Claire cried openly. She said yes. Ending message, strong and inspiring. Sometimes, life doesn't introduce miracles the way we expect. Sometimes they arrive holding tiny hands, asking simple questions, breaking walls we didn't know we built. This wasn't a story about a blind date. It was about choosing love over fear, people over power, and letting a child remind 2 broken adults how to become whole again.